All right, so welcome to the deep dive. Today we're going to be really taking a deep dive into the career and story of Dallas-born rapper Yella Beezy.
And we're basing this off a really great episode from the NEXTGEN AI pod.
Yeah, I think they did a fantastic job over there, and I think we're going to be able to pull some really interesting elements and insights from it.
Yeah, the goal here is to basically extract the most important insights from that podcast episode and offer you guys a focused understanding of his rise in the hip hop scene. What makes him stand out, the challenges he's overcome.
Basically, a shortcut to understanding his impact.
Exactly, yeah. A shortcut to understanding his impact and significance in the world of hip hop.
So to get started, DeAndre Conway was born October 21, 1991 in Dallas, Texas.
Okay.
And he was raised in the Oak Cliff neighborhood.
Oak Cliff, yeah. I mean, that's a neighborhood with a lot of musical history and cultural significance. It makes you wonder how that specific environment might have shaped his early ambitions and creative inclinations. I mean, were there any particular sounds or artists that were really prevalent in Oak Cliff during his upbringing that might have, left a mark on him?
I'm sure there were. And, the episode did touch on, it wasn't always an easy road for him growing up. They talk about financial struggles, the realities of street life.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's a story we hear often with a lot of artists, who come from similar circumstances. And I think those early struggles often become a powerful, catalyst fueling their drive and giving them something really authentic to talk about in their music.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And, speaking of fuel, he was inspired early on by some of the, giants of the genre. Lil Wayne, T.I., and Gucci Mane were all big influences for him. And he started writing rhymes. As a teenager, it sounds like music was really that escape, that form of expression that a lot of people find in it.
Yeah, it's fascinating to see how those early influences kind of blend with an artist's developing identity. You can sometimes hear echoes of those foundational sounds and styles in their early work, even as they're, creating their own unique sound. It's like looking at the early sketches of their artistic blueprints.
Totally. And before the sold-out shows, before the millions of streams, there was a real hustle. There was a ground level grind that he was putting in. They talked about how he was personally selling his mixtapes out of his car. I
Wow.
mean, that's a level of dedication that's not that common. What do you think that says about his mindset, even at that early stage?
I mean, that hands-on approach in the early stages says a lot about his self-belief and his understanding that success, it takes work. It takes building a foundation. He wasn't just waiting around. He was actively engaging with his audience and making sure that people heard his music.
So let's fast forward to 2017, a real pivotal moment in his career with the release of That's On Me. I mean, that song just exploded.
Yeah,
It went
it
viral.
is.
And suddenly, Yella Beezy was this name that everyone was talking about. What do you think it was about that track that really connected with people? Was it the beat? Was it the lyrics? Was it the hook? Or was it just this perfect storm of all those elements?
It's hard to pinpoint one thing, but it definitely had an undeniable energy to it. And what's really fascinating is that he wasn't signed to a major label at that time. He was still independent,
Right.
which makes that early success, even more remarkable.
Totally, it does. What a testament to, just the power of good music and how it can find an audience.
It really underscores the transformative power of independent artistry in today's world. A truly captivating song, it can find its audience organically. It doesn't need to go through the traditional gatekeepers of the industry. It's a testament to the song itself and the artist's ability to connect directly with fans.
And he didn't just fade away after that one hit, back at it again. And Restroom occupied those tracks, came out, kept the momentum going, and he showed that, he wasn't a one-hit wonder.
Maintaining that initial attention is so important for an emerging artist, and those releases really showcase his consistency and his ability to keep putting out music that people wanted to hear. It showed that he had staying power and and the creative output to back it up.
Then in 2018, his debut album Lightwork, Follow One, came out, a big milestone in his career. What do you think releasing a full album means for an artist like that?
It's a statement. It's a more complete body of work that gives listeners a much deeper dive into the artist's world. It's more than just a collection of singles. It's a significant step in, building a more sustainable and substantial career.
And he wasn't doing it alone either. He's collaborated with some pretty big names, Quavo, Moneybagg Yo, Lil Baby. How much do those kinds of features and collaborations impact an artist's career?
I mean, strategic collaborations, they can be so valuable. They expose an artist to a whole new fan base through their collaborators. It also shows that they're getting recognition from their peers in the music community. It's like cross-pollination. It can introduce a lot of new listeners to an artist's work.
Let's talk about his style for a second. They talked about his unique style on the podcast, and it's definitely something that goes beyond just the music, right?
Oh yeah, an artist style. It's a whole presentation, his fashion choices, like his signature grill, they all contribute to a visual identity and it helps create, a memorable brand. It's about crafting a complete artistic persona.
Yeah, and musically, it's that mix of catchy hooks, clever lyrics, often very playful lyrics, and just a real infectious energy that really grabs you. It can definitely hear that Southern hip hop influence in his sound. When we talk about that Southern hip hop influence, what are we really talking about?
It's those specific rhythmic patterns, the swagger in the vocals, the lyrical themes that are so common in hip hop that comes from the South, especially places like Texas, Georgia, Louisiana. It can be the slang, they use the way they tell stories, the choices they make in the production.
And they pointed out that his music often centers around themes of, having fun, living life, being true to yourself. Those are pretty relatable themes. I think that's a big part of why people connect with his music.
Yeah, exactly. Some artists go into really complex or darker themes, but Yella Beezy focuses on these more, accessible themes like fun self-expression, enjoying the moment, and it creates this connection with a really wide range of listeners. It speaks to this universal desire for positivity and celebration.
He's become a real role model, especially for young artists coming up in Dallas. He's proof that success is possible even if you're coming from difficult circumstances. What do you think about that aspect of his story?
Representation matters so much. When people see someone from their own community achieving success, it's incredibly powerful. It shows them that their own dreams are achievable.
They really emphasized his resilience and his ability to overcome adversity, and that became especially clear when they talked about the shooting incident he was involved in back in 2018, and that's a huge thing to overcome.
Surviving something like that can have such profound impact. The physical recovery is one thing, but mentally and emotionally, it can really change your perspective and priorities. For an artist, an experience like that can become a huge source of inspiration for their lyrics. Their outlook, their connection with fans who may have gone through similar struggles, it adds this depth and authenticity to their story.
It could have ended his career, but instead he used it as fuel to keep going. That's a real testament to his character.
And the fact that he's been open about his struggles, talking about the lessons he learned about staying focused, staying positive, persevering, it all adds to his impact. It makes him more relatable and humanizes his journey.
So let's dive into some of those fun facts and little tidbits that the podcast gave us.
Okay.
Apparently, his nickname Yella comes from his lighter complexion, and Beezy comes from his hustle, his work ethic. I love that, it directly ties into his personality and his approach to his craft.
Yeah, it's such a fitting name. It reflects a personal trait and this key part of his professional identity. Stage names, they often have a story behind them, and this one is really revealing.
Here's one I didn't know. He's a huge sports fan, especially basketball. They said he's been spotted at NBA games courtside. Do you see that a lot, that crossover between music and sports?
Yeah, there's a lot of overlap between the entertainment and sports worlds. A lot of artists and athletes have a lot of mutual admiration and support attending those big sporting events. It's a way for artists to network, enjoy another form of, elite performance, and just pursue their personal interests outside of music.
And they mentioned that he's a family man, too. He shares moments with his kids on social media. How do you think that resonates with fans?
Sharing those personal moments, it creates a more well-rounded and relatable image for his fans. It gives them a glimpse beyond the music and lets them connect with him on a more human level, seeing those shared values and experiences related to family.
So to wrap up this deep dive, what would you say are the biggest takeaways from Yella Beezy's journey based on what we learned today?
Well, we've got a story of determined beginnings, coming up in Oak Cliff, his big break with a really infectious sound, strategic collaborations that helped him reach more people, and his resilience in overcoming serious adversity. And, on top of all that, he's become a real role model for aspiring artists, especially those from his hometown. He's a testament to authenticity and hard work.
It's an inspiring story for sure, and it makes you think about what it takes to not only break into the music industry, but to really build a lasting career in such a competitive field like hip hop. Is it all about the music or is there more to it?
Yeah, is it about, the personal brand, the ability to overcome challenges, the connection with the audience?
I think it's all those things, and it's really interesting to consider how all those pieces fit together to create long-term success.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the story of Yella Beezy.
It's been a pleasure.
Catch you next time.
See you later.